You are listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
What's up, everybody? I'm BJ Kissel. This is KCSN Update, our daily Chiefs podcast and video here at KC Sports Network. Thanks for hanging out, spending part of your day with us. Please hit that like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, or follow us on your favorite podcast platform. Got plenty of content here at KCSN. ESPN's Matt Miller is going to join me here in just a few minutes to give us his weekly stock up, stock down report following the Chiefs' 27-20 divisional round win over the Jacksonville Jaguars. But first, you know the deal. A quick word from our partner over at DraftKings. 4 NFL teams, 2 conference championship games, and only a few more shots to win big on the playoffs with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Counting down to Super Bowl 57, new customers can bet just $5 and get $200 in free bets instantly. Not a customer? You can feel the conference championship thrills with stepped-up same-game parlays. Take your shot at an even bigger NFL payout and boost your winnings with each leg you add up to 100%. Chiefs opened as 2.5-point favorites, and that almost immediately dropped to 1 point with the game coming up on Sunday night over the Bengals. The public is obviously loving them some Bengals right now, and based on the way they dominated the Bills, plus Patrick Mahomes' health with that ankle, I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. One thing that we'll talk about with Matt here in just a few minutes, and I'll never bet against Andy Reid. Now, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code KCSN as new customers can bet $5 on the conference championships and get $200 in free bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code KCSN. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. All right, let's welcome on ESPN's Matt Miller to get his thoughts on the Chiefs win and obviously the upcoming matchups this weekend in the the conference championship games. Matt, before we get into stock up, stock down, how do you feel about the weekend slate of games that we saw in the divisional round?
Man, great. I feel great. I think, the 4 best teams won. I know a lot of people might be surprised by that, but I really do. I thought the 4 teams that were playing the best the last 6 weeks won those games. Kansas City beating Jacksonville. We'll get into that one, so I'll push it to the back. I honestly, and I know you and I have talked about this, I've tweeted about it, you guys have heard me say it, I really didn't think Buffalo was playing that well. I thought at times this year they relied far too much on Josh Allen to be Superman, and it kept biting them in the ass, but they were good enough to still win. When you play a good team and you're playing down, you're going to get caught. You're going to get punched in the mouth. When Cincy went up 14, I was watching with my family, and I told my son, I was like, buddy, this game's probably over because the Bills just aren't playing well enough to come back. And I know with Josh Allen, you're always like, oh, there's a chance. But there really wasn't. The way they're playing, again, Gabe Davis is a solid receiver. I think they need an upgrade at wide receiver too. I think they're going to have to find a running back that can do what Joe Mixon did, or can do what – obviously, everybody would like a Christian McCaffrey, but you need a running back. They've spent 3rd-round picks on guys who can fill a role, but they need a guy. And we have a couple months to talk about the draft, so we'll get into that. Same with
Chiefs got one in the 7th round, but we'll talk about that later.
So it doesn't have to be a 1st-round pick. You can find a guy. The Eagles just punched the Giants straight in the teeth as well.
Yeah.
And I will say this, for Jaguars fans and for Giants fans, you should not be upset today. You should walk into work holding your head high. I mean, do you remember that year the Royals made the World Series and they lose Game 7 to the Giants? I remember walking out of that game at Kauffman and turning to my brother and being like, we just watched Game 7 of the World Series at Kauffman and our team had a chance to win. Sometimes you can see yourself getting close and you can't even you could be like, oh man, we lost. That sucks. But you're close and you exceeded expectations to get to where you are. So Giants fans, Jags fans, I don't think you can be super upset. Cowboys fans, I think you have a right to be pissed just because that was such a poorly coached game. Everyone knows I'm a Niners fan, so I was very happy to see it turn out that way. But I'm excited for Sunday. I really am. I mean, we get a rematch of last year's AFC Championship game, and I think we got the 2 best teams in the NFC playing each other, which is how you want it to be.
Yeah, I like what you said about that. I think the Jaguars and Giants, they're both ahead of schedule. I mean, they both have Coach of the Year candidates with Brian Daboll and Doug Peterson and what they were able to do to turn their season. I mean, the Jaguars were 3-14 a year ago. They have no reason to be upset. The only thing that surprised me over divisional weekend was that I didn't think that the Giants were going to beat the Eagles, but I didn't think it was necessarily going to look like that. I thought it would be a little more competitive, especially early. It got down so much that it just kind of throws everything out the window. But a little surprised how that went down. But other than that, man, I know we don't talk, at least the narrative will pick up. But if you're a Buffalo Bills fan, knowing that over the last 2 years, you've been a favorite by a lot of people, because Chiefs fans know, because we get annoyed every time we saw it, that you're favorite to go to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl, and you don't get out of the divisional round for 2 years in a row. At what point do you say, like, these guys just can't get it done? And now they've got kryptonite in the Cincinnati Bengals. And until the Chiefs beat them, Bengals are the kryptonite and two of the best teams in the AFC. And that's why I'm excited about Sunday, because this is the matchup that I wanted with the Chiefs and Bengals, because we haven't beat these guys. And know the Bills are talented, know that the Bengals are a better football team, but really tired of hearing about them. They ended our season a year ago. And so it's going to be a lot of that kind of talk this week, but it's a lot of people doubting that the Chiefs can get it done because of the recent history.
Right. Well, in the last game the Chiefs lost was to the Bengals, 27-24. So there's a lot of recent history with these teams. You know, everyone knows that Burrow's 3-0 against the Kansas City Chiefs. He's playing as well as any quarterback in the country right now. There's just he's good. I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people, Matt. In the world, right? I know a lot of people where we live don't like Joe Burrow because of the fact that he's 3-0 against Kansas City. I really enjoy watching him play. So, it'll be a good matchup. But I think, to put a button on it, to your point, Dallas and Buffalo have to be looking at themselves today, tomorrow, and saying, like, we have to make a move because our window is closing. Because especially in the AFC, because you're always going to have Mahomes to deal with. Now you have Joe Burrow, who's I think Joe Burrow is better than Josh Allen right now. You've got Justin Herbert coming up, very, very talented. Who knows what's going to happen with Lamar Jackson, but the AFC is loaded, and I'm probably leaving out a couple guys. Trevor Lawrence is ascending. I think if you're Buffalo, you're having those conversations of, like, what do we have to do? You traded for Von Miller. Unfortunately, he gets hurt. Yeah. Like, that's the team that I think now you have to look at that offense, be like, all right, we have to do another Stephon Diggs, who's secretly, quietly 30 years old now. So I can nerd out about the offseason for hours because it's my job, but we'll do that after your season's over.
All right, we'll obviously talk more about this matchup as we go through this show and do the stock up, stock down. But Matt, let's get into the stock up, stock down that you've got following the Chiefs win over the Jags. And the first one, Chiefs quarterback not named Patrick Mahomes.
Man, Chad Henne, if you see him in public, Chiefs fan, number one, leave the man alone, because no one likes to bug athletes in public. But he should never have to pay for a meal or a drink in Kansas City for the rest of his life. He's been incredibly valuable to this franchise in the postseason. Mahomes gets injured and Henne is able to step in. So you guys know my opinions on Patrick. I think he's the best quarterback in the NFL. But for Henne to come in and lead the team to a touchdown, I almost feel like it calmed everyone down. It was like, okay, we're not dead in the water here. This game's not over. We didn't know if Mahomes was coming back. He's back on the sideline, and like they go to timeout and they don't make the change, and everybody's freaking out on Twitter about, like, does this mean Mahomes is out for the game? Obviously, he came back in, and we saw the results of that. But I think Chad Henne, I'm sure he got a lot of credit in the locker room after that game, but he deserves a lot of praise. And at some point, he's going to be done playing football, and all the beers and all the steaks should be free for Chad Henne in Kansas City.
All the barbecue, whatever your spot, whatever Chad Henne's spot. I'm going to ask Nate Taylor to ask Chad Henne, like, hey, what's your favorite barbecue spot, and where can people send it? Don't send your address, send it to the facility, whatever we got to send it.
Right.
But yeah, need to take care of that guy.
Or do the thing where you, like, donate to his foundation. Like, everybody donate $15 or something to his donate to his foundation. We've seen $98 may be a lot
for
the drive.
Be symbolic. Yeah, that might be symbolic.
If you can do it, it'd be cool. Yeah.
I don't know if you felt the same way, Matt. A little side story here, but watching Patrick Mahomes on the sideline and he wasn't coming back in the game, knowing he had some sort of lower leg injury, I was like, if he's not coming in the game, go put him in a bed with his leg up in the air and start the sweat. Like, get this taken care. I know Rick and company, they're obviously professionals. They know what they're doing. Right. But just as some guy on the sideline that, had a few beverages that feels like, I know what they should do right now. It's like, get this guy off his feet and put his feet in the air. If he's not going to come back in, take care of this guy. No, and I think the report came out yesterday. We mentioned it. We did a post-game show last night after the Bills-Bengals game. And the report came out from Jay Glazer that Patrick Mahomes woke up yesterday morning on Sunday morning feeling much better than he originally thought he was going to. And so whether it's Patrick, Rick Burkholder, obviously Bobby Stroop and all the work that they do together, like they've got a lot of work ahead of themselves this week to get ready for the biggest game that we've had since last year when we faced these guys. But also getting his body right. But I will make the point, Matt, I know you most likely feel very similar. If there's a coach that you're looking for that can game plan around anything, if you give him a week, Andy Reid will have a game plan for Patrick Mahomes if he is immobile or more immobile than usual to be able to find success offensively. I am not worried that the Chiefs offense will be able to put up some points even with hobbled Mahomes because Andy Reid is that good at what he does. For me, it's all about the defense. I know we'll continue on. We'll go back to our stock up, stock down. But for me, it is Chris Jones. It is the defensive line. I know we'll get to them here in a bit, so I don't want to jump ahead. But I'm not as worried about Patrick Mahomes' ankle injury because, I like the report that Jay Glazer said. He came back in the game and played. They've got a week to prepare for it. Mm-hmm. And Andy Reid is very good at what he does.
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot of Blake Bell. We're going to see a lot of double tight end packages where Blake is helping out with the Bengals pass rush is very good. I mean, you guys saw that against Buffalo. There will be a lot of consideration for that. But I also think if it were week 10, it would be a different conversation. But you have one, at most 2 games left this season, and then you have several months off. And I don't want to put words in Patrick's mouth, but I know that he's thinking, hey, I got 1, maybe 2 more games, and we're going to have a week off in between if we make it to the Super Bowl. I'm going to play, and I'm going to go out there and put it on the line. We saw him in the Super Bowl, against Tampa doing something similar. So I think there's no way you're keeping him off that field. And I actually loved the emotion from him on the sideline. I know for him that was a frustrating moment, and I don't want to make light of that. But, man, that is what you want in a quarterback when I'm not going to name names. There are a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL who would not have been back in that game, and they would have not reacted so strongly to – even just having to go in the locker room and get things checked out. So I think it shows you the type of competitor that he really is and the type of leader he is. And that's why the team loves him so much.
Yeah, I will never, whether it's Patrick Mahomes, whether it's a practice squad player who gets called up to do a special teams play, when guys show emotion on the sideline in the middle of a game and then they're judged for how they show emotion in something they've dedicated their lives for and they put their bodies on the line for, you go down, I've said this a lot, but you go down there and stand on the sideline during an NFL game and tell me those guys don't have a right to let out their emotions with what they mentally have to withstand to step between those white lines. I know Eric Winston said it years ago and he got all kinds of backlash, but they're gladiators. Like they're modern day gladiators to go out there and do what they do, what they put their bodies through. And so, people that are upset about how guys react will never make sense to me, Matt. We'll keep coming back to the game and bringing in the matchup and what it means for Sunday. But another stock up that you've got from this past game, Travis Kelce.
Travis Kelce, of course. I mean, 14 catches, 98 yards, 2 tutties. And the fact is not just the stats. It's once Patrick came back after halftime and it was so obviously limited, it almost just became, let me find Travis. Like, I'm just going to find Travis because I know he's going to be open. I know he's reliable. And it works. Even when everyone in the world knows what's going to happen. They lost some of the deep game because of that inability to, step off and pivot. You had to go to the short game, and it worked. And so all the accolades for Travis Kelce, I think he has the most 100-yard games of puff history for a tight end. I mean, it's just he's the greatest. And I do think we're seeing a player carve out a legacy of the greatest tight end in NFL history. And it took me a while to come around on that because of so many great players. You guys had Tony Gonzalez in Kansas City. You saw one of the greats. But I think what Travis is able to do, the consistency, the way he gets open, what he does after the catch, I mean, it's really unprecedented. And it's great to have a safety valve like that when you have, a great quarterback, but also when you have a quarterback who's injured, to have someone that can be that safety valve is really, really special.
Yeah, I read them off on our show 10 Things that I recorded yesterday. You can find that on our YouTube channel. You can find it on our podcast, but it's basically just a bunch of the game notes and a bunch of the information on stats, records, paces, things like that. And Travis Kelce, I believe, is now second in postseason history, or will be with I think it's 1 catch and 1 yard. He will be second in postseason history for the NFL, not amongst tight ends, but amongst all pass catchers, only trailing your guy, Jerry Rice, for most yards, receptions, and touchdowns in NFL postseason history.
I think anytime you're second to Jerry Rice, you're doing something really well. You're pretty good.
And Jerry Rice played for, you would know, how many years did Jerry Rice play in the league? Travis Kelce's been in the league for 10 years. Yeah. Travis, it's like Mahomes being compared to Tom Brady. And it's amazing when you put it in context that Tom Brady is 18 years older than Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild.
Patrick Mahomes, he's going to shatter they both will if they want to keep playing.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you do your 10 things, but you could do, as my dog goes crazy, you could do a whole show on the accolades, the records they're going to set and break. And I do think that stuff's important to talk about because it's easy to get lost in the mix of, are we going to win a Super Bowl? Are we going to win a Super Bowl? And sometimes it's nice to step back and be like 5 straight AFC Championship games at home and a record-shattering pace for Mahomes and Kelce at this point. So it's special. I know you guys you hear that a lot, and you don't need me to tell you to step back and enjoy it. But it's, again, as someone who lived through the Niner dynasty of I didn't see them have a losing season until I was 17 or 18. Enjoy it while it's here for sure.
Yeah. I think, and I don't mean to preach or tell other people how to feel. That's the biggest mistake that everyone in the world makes, is telling people how they should feel about anything. But the fact that I think a lot of people, when they get really upset, and we talk about the golden age of Chiefs football and why can't we just enjoy it, and Patrick Mahomes and all these things, I think what happens, and talking with people that feel this way, and some of my friends feel this way, is that they don't want to look back on this greatest quarterback run in NFL history and only have 1 Super Bowl to show for. Not the Aaron Rodgers where you have all these stats, all these records, but you don't have a lot of team wins to show for it. So when it doesn't happen, it's we're losing our chance to, quote, be a dynasty. We're losing our opportunity to do this. You are so far in front of not being in the moment with what's happening right now that you're worrying about conversations and having in 15 years. And I had that moment when they lost to Tom Brady in the Super Bowl a couple years ago and they got dominated. I was pissed because it was I don't know if he's going to get another chance to face Tom Brady. And now when I have that argument in 15 years on who's the best ever, well, he never beat Brady in the play. He never beat him in a big game. And there's nothing I'm going to be able to say for that. So for that little time, I was annoyed because I won't be able to win that conversation down the road. But I think a lot of people get caught up in wanting to have more to show for it than 1 Super Bowl and a bunch of missed opportunities. The Bengals are also trying to build a dynasty, and they're a very good football team. And all these other people are doing it through the lens of their fandom and what their team has done. And you're looking at a Bengals team that's now going back-to-back AFC Championship games, went to the Super Bowl last year. They're trying to overcome the loss that they had last year with a very, very talented football team. Sorry, what were you going to say? I get all preachy here.
No, you're right. Similarly for Bengals fans, if they stumble across this video, hi, welcome in. They're building their own thing. They've won more playoff games in the last 2 years than they had in franchise history. And this is a team that they were going to Super Bowls in the 80s. They had Boomer Esiason. They had a very, very good team. And so I think, I do. There's going to be time for the Brady, Mahomes, Burrow, Mahomes, Allen, all those conversations. But you're right. What they do the next 2 weeks really cements that. And it does give you the ammunition to say Mahomes is in the conversation with Brady or Burrow's in the conversation with Mahomes, whatever that might be. I saw a tweet this morning that said Joe Burrow's the best quarterback in the NFL. And I might have copied the link and texted it to a couple people just because, I think everybody needs that extra motivation. I did the same thing when the NFL started selling the tickets in Atlanta for the Bills-Chiefs game. I sent that to every player I know in the Bengals. It's funny. It's not.
Everybody does that. And can we have a conversation about this? Can we please have a conversation? It's one of the most annoying things. And some media people have got onto it. There's a lot of people who don't understand how ticket sales work. The Bengals did the exact same thing for the Jaguars if they were going to face the Jaguars. Every team does it. You cannot start selling tickets once you're 100% no. You sell the tickets and then you refund them. This is a normal thing.
But you use what you have, as motivation.
Oh, for sure.
Whatever slight you can come up with, like someone saying Burrow is better than Mahomes. Well, you got to make sure that everybody sees that.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, let's get into – actually, I got one more. We haven't moved – we were going to move to stock down, but there's one more player that we haven't mentioned quite yet. I briefly mentioned him earlier, but Isiah Pacheco. 12 carries, 95 yards, most rushing yards by a rookie in in Chiefs franchise history for a postseason game. His 39-yard rush on that 98-yard touchdown drive was probably one of the more memorable plays from that game, and showed – and this is not trying to be a knock on Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but that's the dynamic ability that Isiah Pacheco brings that they do not have with any other running back that they've had on their roster. I would say even the last couple of years, even with Damian Williams, and as good as he was, I don't think Damian Williams can turn on the Jets the way that Isiah Pacheco did on that particular carry, where he gets stuffed at the line, feet at a dead stop with guys around him, and then beats and basically makes every defender, especially the second, that safety, take a bad angle because they didn't realize that he has the jets that he did. But Isiah Pacheco is definitely a stock up at a time. Again, talking about rookies, Jalen Watson's interception, Isiah Pacheco making plays. I mean, it was, again, a Brett Veach tip your cap with what you were able to do with this last draft. But Isiah Pacheco, for two rookies to be stepping up this late in the season when we're not talking about a rookie wall, unbelievable performance. And another one of those games where, again, Brett Veach can just kind of smile and just kind of nod like, yeah, I crushed that draft. Like,
he has some job security. I think he's probably doing okay. I mean, we even saw Sky Moore get the ball on an end around, I think, right? And I mean, this rookie class continues to play really, really well. It makes me excited for, again, draft nerd. I'm very excited for what this upcoming draft class can look like, because remember, last year was a quote unquote bad draft. Wasn't a very good year, and now you have on a great team all these rookies contributing. So yeah, Pacheco, I'm a huge fan. The dude runs angry. I think he's faster than a lot of people expect because of his build. But yeah, I mean, we're going to see a healthy dose of him against Cincinnati because, as I said earlier, I think that's one thing Buffalo is missing, is a player that can do that you can rely on, where you're not having to consistently win because of your quarterback. I think to beat Cincinnati, you probably want to run the ball a little bit.
All right, Matt, let's move on to the stock down portion of this show. And we kind of already touched on this first one a little bit, but what do you got for us for stock down?
Yeah, there's not a lot to talk about. Obviously, they win the game. That's most important. I'm going to start with ankles as a stock down, though. I mean, I don't subscribe to the theory that was a dirty play by Arden Key. I think, we have to remember how fast those things happen, and just like when we talked about the Andre Sisco regular season play, things happen so fast out there. You don't have time to always make a decision like some people want to portray it as. But I mean, I told you before we started recording, BJ, it feels like the last time we saw Mahomes healthy in the postseason, you guys won a Super Bowl. So I'm just selfishly, as someone who loves the sport and wants to watch great players play, just want them healthy. And it would be the same thing if it was Joe Burrow or if it was Jamar Chase. Like, you want everybody healthy this time of year to get the best product on the field. So I know you've said it, Mahomes woke up feeling better Sunday than he expected. I think that's a great sign. We'll see, probably Wednesday, we'll probably get a decent report on how he's looking in practice and how he's feeling. But you got to trust the team that is around him. I know they're great at what they do. Rick Burkhalter, who you mentioned, Bobby Stroop, his personal trainer, is fantastic. Also, his wife has a degree in this, so he's got a support staff that's going to take care of him. I'm sure he's got the foot up at home watching film already. So I think you got to trust the group, but very, very much hoping that we get to see a healthy Mahomes, or healthy-ish Mahomes, against Burrow on Sunday.
Yeah, and even, like I said, even if not an immobile Mahomes, they will have a game plan for him. This could be a big Kadarius Toney. We'll see what with McCole Hardman, but getting the ball out of his hand quickly to playmakers and letting those guys get out and make plays in space would be huge. It's why one of the matchups I'm going to be talking about all week, Mike Hilton. I liked him when he was with the Steelers. He's the one who jumped out to me all over the place. He's their MVP for me as just a casual observer of what the Bengals do. Every time they're making a play, every time their defensive coordinator dials something up, it's 21. He's always around the ball. Yep. He's always in the mix, and probably one of the most underrated players for me on that defense, because I don't hear him talk nationally a lot. But again, every time they make a big play or something happens, it seems like 21's always right in the middle of it.
Yeah, he had DJ Reader, the defensive tackle. The guy's incredibly underrated. But Mike Hilton, when he hit Josh Allen on that corner blitz, And Mike Hilton's not a big guy, by the way. Josh Allen is. I mean, that is a major difference. And, Josh felt it, and I think after that, he wasn't throwing with the same velocity. So Mike Hilton's definitely someone to watch for. My last stock down, though, BJ, speaking of defense, is the D-line. That was if I had to point to a group that I thought would play better on Sunday, it was the defensive line. Now, Frank Clark got his postseason sack out of the way. So that's always
what he
good.
does.
Only 2 sacks, and they allowed 144 yards rushing from Jacksonville. Not to take anything away from Jacksonville's offensive line, but they've got a replacement player at left tackle. Brandon Scherf is great, obviously, on the interior, but this is not the 1993 Dallas Cowboys offensive line that you're going against. So I expected the Chiefs' defensive line, the way things were trending at the end of the season, I really thought they would be better suited to handle Jacksonville's offensive line. So against Cincinnati's offensive line is banged up as well. You could not tell against Buffalo that they're playing with a replacement left tackle, and they've got a center who's got his own high ankle sprain. Like, they played great against Buffalo's D-line. So I think if you're looking ahead to some matchups, it's that Cincinnati offensive line and defensive line against what Kansas City's got in the trenches is. I know that's cliche. Oh, this football game will be won in the trenches, but it's definitely something to watch.
Yeah, no, Chris Jones, I thought, was good in this game. He had 6 pressures in this game. Chris Jones is going to be good. It's the rest of those guys. Karlaftis didn't have his best game, and that's okay. This is the next one. It's the one that they really need him to step up. We're going to make a huge deal of Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow all week. And the numbers we're going to talk about. Joe Burrow gets the ball out. One of the 2 fastest quarterbacks time to attempt. Yeah, it's he and Tom Brady are the balls. They're just getting the balls out of their hands as fast as they can. And so that puts more pressure on the DBs to stay close if they're pressing, to jump some of those quick routes. I know that's a really tough thing to do going up against Jamar Chase and some of the double move stuff that they do if you get a little too aggressive. We saw it in the last game. We saw some really creative designs from Callahan, I think their OC. With some of the faking the bubble screen on the touchdown to Hayden Hurst. I mean, some of those play designs are really, really good, where you're putting a defensive back in a very tough position to either be late covering a screen or to get beat over the top and give up a step, like exactly what happened in that game. So need the defensive line to have their best game of the season. But as much as we're going to talk about Patrick Mahomes, his ankle, Joe Burrow, and all that, if the Chiefs' defensive line has their best game of the year, the Chiefs will win this football game. You can't convince me otherwise. If Chris Jones, if Mike Dana, Colin Saunders, Carlos Dunlap, George Karlaftis, if those guys come out and dominate, the Chiefs will win. I don't care how immobile Patrick Mahomes is, because I trust that Andy Reid will put him in a position to get enough points.
Yeah, and I would say on the flip side, Cincinnati has a threesome, a pass rusher, Sam Hubbard, who's had a great year, Trey Hendrickson, who's been such a great signing, and now they've got Joseph Osai, who was a second-round pick out of Texas. He's healthy. He's working into the mix a lot. They have a good defensive line as well, and I think that's the Chiefs' offensive line to me. Like, we've talked so much about how much better Orlando Brown Jr. has played, probably since like week 10 or 11. It's gonna be a test for those guys up front, which is as it should be. It's the AFC Championship game. Like, every matchup should be like, oh my God, like, Trent McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed have to go against those wide receivers, and you have to worry about Logan Wilson, who's a great linebacker. He's got to figure out how to go up against Travis Kelce. Like, you guys are going to have a great week of content, BJ, because you could legitimately nerd out about every matchup in this game. And they're all, it's like a dream really game for football fans, because you've got best versus best at almost every spot.
Yeah, this is the matchup that everybody was looking for. All right, before we let you go, Matt, what do you have for us as a score prediction? Let's give you both games. Let's do the AFC and the NFC games. What do you think? I know we're early in the week. We don't know how it's all going to play out and what's going to be said in the media. Really curious when Justin Reed gets a mic in his face if he calls Hayden Hurst soft again, since that was the big to-do going into the last game.
Yeah.
Please don't.
Oh, man. I haven't thought about this a whole lot, honestly. I'm going to go – I think Philadelphia wins 27-17. I think they're just too good, and San Francisco hasn't been scoring. So we go Philadelphia by 10. I think Cincinnati wins. I really do. I just think they match up better. I want to be wrong about that because, as you know, my wife and kids and whole family are all Chiefs fans. So I will be pulling for you guys. I selfishly want a 49ers Kansas City rematch in the Super Bowl, but I think we probably see Philly Cincinnati. Sorry.
I don't know how to end this. I was just going to let it end there.
Right. Just
all right.
Just stop.
Everybody who's listening, like, okay, cool. And at the very end, they're like, damn it. And they're going to leave this show unhappy. So I'll try to leave with at least a positive thing. The Chiefs, 5th straight season hosting the AFC Championship. Never happened before in NFL history. So that is special. And it worked out for the Chiefs season ticket members that were upset about the neutral site game. Now that didn't happen. So Chiefs fans get a chance to go out. This is the FOMO game. This is the one that I was going to be at. Bummed out that Patrick Mahomes isn't 100% going in. This is the only thing that's kind of throwing a cloud on this for Chiefs fans, but should be a hell of a game and a good one to be at if you're heading out to Arrowhead. We'll see what the weather is going to be and if that could be any kind of a factor, but appreciate everybody for hanging out, chatting up with ESPN's Matt Miller like we do every Monday. We'll be back next week talking about hopefully the Chiefs heading to a Super Bowl and facing Matt's 49ers could be a good one, but appreciate everybody for hanging out. We'll see you next time.